I'm your host, Mark Weisenberger, disruptive marketer and two-time best-selling author. Today, we have a special guest. Roger Knecth is the president of Universal Accounting Center. Roger is a speaker, author, business value builder, and trainer. A native of Utah, Roger received his undergraduate degree in communications from Brigham Young University and brings extensive experience in marketing and business management to his current position, having brought growth to a variety of organizations throughout his career. Under his leadership, Universal Accounting has been named one of the top 500 fastest growing companies 5 years in a row. In addition to his company duties, Roger is an accomplished presenter and writer, has earned multiple certificates, and is a member of his leaders of or leads several organizations, chapters, and boards. He served as Vice President of Education for the Utah chapter of the Institute of Management Accounts and has received an award of excellence for his work helping convicted felons learn and develop workforce skills. Roger works with business owners, presidents, and executives to increase the financial value of their company using proven strategies, processes, and procedures to build real wealth within the business while also increasing profit margins and net income. So please help me welcome Roger Knecth. Roger, welcome to the show.
That actually sounded pretty good.
Well, for a kid that grew up in Idaho and never really learned how to read, I guess I did okay.
Did darn well.
Hey, Roger,
yes.
I've asked our audience to go ahead and share this show on their timelines. So if you just share with the audience if there's anything I missed in the bio or anything you would like the audience to know about you, would you go ahead and share that with us right now? And while you're doing that, I'm going to sneak over and actually share the show on my own timeline.
Certainly. Well, just to start, I appreciate the opportunity. This is a pleasure, and I actually am looking forward to sharing a few insights regarding business and what it is that we can do to help those of the people who are listening, not just professionally, but more importantly, with their business, excel in building the value of it. But on a personal note, one of the things I can definitely say is if you're listening to this and you want to know something personal about me, I think there's three things that define me well. The first is family. Family's first. And I believe one of the things that we have is a challenge where the professionals I often work with is work-life balance. So if there's anything I can definitely share is keeping my family and the priority of working or interacting with them is important to me. The second thing that I'd like to share is you've got to be passionate about something. And so every time I meet with someone, it's not what your hobby is, it's what are you passionate about. And so I love hearing what that is. And I've got my own things that we could have a whole presentation, I'm sure, discussing what it is I'm personally passionate about. But the third thing I'd like to just lastly share is having a love of life. There's a phrase that I think some people out there say, and it's kind of flipping. That's the I'm living the dream. Are you really living the dream? Are you really excited? Are you enjoying what it is you're doing? And is everyone around you seeing that? It's one thing to live life. It's another thing for people to see that you're enjoying it. So just three things as you're getting all set up that I quickly wanted to share.
Okay, appreciate that. And yeah, as far as that last part goes, I have a philosophy in life. And that philosophy is if it's not fun, I'm not showing up. And I've showed up, so we're going to have some fun today.
There you go. Well, let's have some fun then.
And so Roger, I'm going to start off with a pretty simple question. You work with a lot of business owners, as was indicated in your bio. But as you work with your clients, are there any areas you specifically focus on?
Yes. One of the things that we try to do is break the business model down to very simple or functional parts. And so what we do in our company is we work with our clients and do what's called mapping the business. And so we break the business down into three very distinct areas. It's marketing, accounting, and production. And the way we define that is marketing is everything up to and including the transaction. So whatever the business is doing to generate revenue and get the sale is focused on there. We then talk about accounting. And one of the things that I think is important to understand about this is although accounting, financial statements, balance sheets, although accounting itself is key in the business, that's the language of business, there are also a number of other metrics, numbers that need to be followed and looked at that are beyond the accounting process. And so what we do with our clients is identify key metrics within the business that they need to be watching. And then lastly, with production, there is the transaction where the marketing ends and now the fulfillment begins. And production is everything that's going on within the company to deliver that product or service in a profitable way. And so whenever I work with our clients, we start right there, just mapping the business. Who are those key areas, or excuse me, who are responsible for those key areas, and what are those roles? And so that's where we always begin.
Okay, great. And do you find with most small businesses, particularly maybe family-run businesses, that even though accounting is the language of business, they really, A, don't understand accounting, or B, don't want to be bothered with accounting?
Well, I think that's natural even for people that aren't even in a family business. I've worked with enough companies to know this much. Many businesses are run by individuals that have very strong core strengths. They're great at either the production or the marketing. I rarely find individuals running businesses where their strength is in the accounting side of things, because the business typically, unless it's an accounting business, it has something else it's doing that it does well. That's why it's in business. And so often I think these executives, the business owners, accounting is something that's often looked at as a byproduct, or it's a necessary evil, or it's something that they'll get around to. It's weird, really, honestly, it's weird to know that the business speaks through the accounting and yet there's no one listening to it. And so you're basically in business with this company that all day long is wanting to tell you things of what's working, what's not working, what needs attention, what doesn't need attention, and it's being ignored. So yes, working with business owners, working with executives, we always want to come back to and make sure we're listening to the company through the accounting numbers.
So what you're telling me is those business owners and executives are a lot like my kids. They don't
Yes.
listen.
No. And I've got an excellent analogy that I use in my book that I think illustrates this well. Would you mind if I shared a quick story?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the idea is, years ago I met two families, and each of them had adults that were they had a hearing impairment. Both of them were deaf, these young children, and each of them were in their early 20s at the time I became introduced to the family. And as I got to know the parents, I learned very quickly that these parents consciously chose that when these children were younger and deaf, they would not teach them, nor would they as adults learn sign language. And this astounded me. It flabbergasted me. I was just taken aback. And I've later learned that in the deaf community, this is a common thing. This isn't so unheard of. But still, as a parent of my own children, I just couldn't fathom that here this intelligent being existed, and yet no one was willing to communicate with this child. And so here it was, these parents were now dealing with young adults that were deaf, and they were just then learning to communicate through sign language. So their children had gotten to the point within the deaf community that they had learned sign language. And these parents now in their 40s and 50s were just starting to communicate with their children. And it astounded me. They were learning what their hopes, their dreams, their emotions, what their goals were in life in an intelligent way as they were communicating through sign language. Well, it's no different than with business. So often, I think the company is trying to talk to the owner. It's trying to say, here's what's working. Here's where the profit is. Do this again. I like this. This works for us. And so the company is using that language of accounting to try and talk to the owners, the executives, and nobody's listening. And it's, if anything, it's a conversation of, well, what happened last year within the company from an accounting point of view? You're talking about things that are old, they're happenstance, they're indifferent. And what we want to do is we want to have a timely, regular dialogue with the company, listen to it. And so I'm quite passionate about it because I saw these families now just experiencing something new as they began only when their child was in their 20s, to learn who this individual was that they'd been living with all these years. And by the way, the child was difficult because in both instances, the child struggled to communicate when they were young or when they were teenagers or children because they had no way to express themselves or be understood because they see everyone else interacting. They see everyone else experiencing life in a way that they can't. And yet the parents had consciously chosen to ostracize them from that experience. And obviously, I'm very opinionated about this, having seen it, but I think it happens in business. The company is run by business owners who, because they don't know how to read the accounting information, they don't know how to understand it, they push it aside, don't look at it, and don't use it to make intelligent business decisions within the company.
Yeah, great. And I'd just like to pause right here before we go on and welcome Crystal. She's on here, and I'm trying to read on my monitor. This is great. So Crystal loved your story, and so appreciate you sharing that. And Roger, I don't hear any of that passion coming through your voice at all. So
yes, forgive me. I can get on my soapbox quite easily. I need to step down occasionally.
So when you've worked with different clients and business owners, are there any common key elements to success? And as far as that concerned, common elements to failure as well?
Yes. So you brought up passion. I'm going to start there. There are four that are very specific I've found as I've worked with successful people that I believe to be essential as people are trying to build businesses and do so successfully. The first is passion. I have never met a business owner that is not passionate who is successful. And the reason why I say it this way is, in my opinion, passion is much like the energy that the business owner brings to the company that everyone else within the company draws from. If the business owner walks into the company in the morning, in the afternoon, and the employees can sense or feel that they're beaten down, that they're tired, that they're depressed, even if it's outside of work, it's maybe family oriented. The fact that the negative energy that the business owner is walking into the company with is contagious. And so that passion that the business owner brings to the company, that passion is where they get that drive, that vision that they're able to share with the company. That's where all the employees latch on and find purpose. And so passion, I find, is very, very important for the business owner to always bring to the table. And so one of the things that I always do is I talk to these business owners as to how can they sustain or maintain that passion? What can they do to make sure that they do it? And there's a number of things, but I'll share with you one. One of the things that I believe can really make a difference for passion is you need to first and foremost find 4 books on that very topic that you're trying to be the expert in, the thing that you're trying to excel at, and read these 4 books. Having read those 4 books, you will know more than 90% of the people out there because you now understand the different points of view related to that topic. You're an expert in it now. And having read those 4 books, you will also understand different points of view, and you'll be more able to intelligently explain what those points of view are that are different than your own and why yours is the way it is. So that's really key. The other I also share with passion is to join an association or group of peers. Too often I find people that are very good at what they do, but they don't associate with their peers. The fact that you've got organizations, associations out there that are in certain industries, you need to participate in those. And so I encourage the business owners to find where their peers are and go associate with them. So those are just 2 things related to passion. Do you want the other 3?
Sure, just real quick. But before you go on and do that, I just want to, you talked about the 4 books, and you're making me work a little harder than Brian Tracy does. He said 3. He said 3 books, but he said really dive in and dissect and study those 3 books. And then you know more than anyone else on that subject that you'll come in contact with.
Yes.
In fact, he makes a comment, you'll know more about that subject than any one of those individuals in those books, that wrote those books, because you've done more research than that individual has.
I wouldn't go that far, but I'll agree with you. You read the books, you're going to know more than everyone else. But I will say that, let me share with you the other ones. Passion is first. So those of you who are writing this down, the second one is commitment. I've never met a business owner that is not committed. My point is a very simple one. If you walk down the hallway in a company and a business owner walks past a piece of paper or something that's out of place, I'll guarantee you, I'll bet that they'll pick up and take care of it. They won't walk past it. They take an ownership in the business, and it's the little things that make a difference. And so commitment is meeting deadlines. It's over delivering. You'll find business owners who are making a difference. They'll go that extra mile. And so that's huge. The third thing is quality. Quality is important for business owners because even if the company doesn't carry their name or the product does not carry their name, quality is important because even as some people joke about McDonald's not having quality food, which I beg to differ, by the way, they have an excellent menu now. But the point is, they actually do pride themselves in quality. It's the consistency of the food that they're looking for. They're looking for a consistency in volume or in the service that they provide. So the point is whatever company it is, quality becomes an essential part of that ingredient for success. The next thing is the knowledge of the numbers. I was sharing with you earlier, obviously, the importance of the key metrics, particularly even those found in accounting. A proper, successful business owner knows what key numbers to watch in the business on a regular basis, whether it be the daily, weekly, monthly numbers. They have certain numbers that they follow, and those numbers are very telling of the company, and they know it, and they watch those. So if I can, those are the four things that I have found to be very important for successful business owners.
Okay, great. And I'm going to disagree one moment because I'm not a McDonald's fan, so I don't care what they put on there. I don't like it. But as far as quality, it is quality just in the simple fact, whether you love it or hate it, it tastes exactly the same from one location to the next location. So, which means that they have a quality standard, and those quality standards are being met along the whole way.
Exactly. And they take pride in that. Yeah. That's important to them. Yes.
So, how do you help your clients address the needs related to their company, culture, employees, and this culture thing is becoming real prevalent anymore, especially with the millennials. And, and I'm not going to say anything bad about millennials. I think millennials have the same challenge as every other generation. Some of them like to work, some of them don't, but they have grown up with a little different philosophy. So how do you help these business owners with that culture and help them retain and keep these employees?
Excellent question. So obviously employees are arguably one of the greatest assets, if not the greatest asset in any company. They can make or break a business. They can be the front of a company. They obviously are who the customer is interacting with so often. So the culture that exists in the company is very, I think, key to the growth and success of the business. So we have a program called the STAR program. It's an acronym. We teach it to all of our clients. The STAR program, as an acronym, very quickly represents four things. S stands for setting standards. Every single department and every single individual must have a standard, a specific metric they're responsible for. They know at the end of the day, at the end of the week, there's something specific they need to accomplish, and it needs to be quantifiable. The second thing is with T is trust. There has to exist in the business a sense of trust. You have to believe that the person you're working with, the one that's next to you, can and will do what they're responsible for. And when that trust is violated, when people don't trust the people they're working with, that they're slacking, taking advantage of, not going to commit and reach goals, when trust starts to fall, you have two choices. Either you need to change the people or change the people. It's that simple. People either need to be trusted or they can't, and that can be the undoing of a business. The third, with the A, is we want to acknowledge their contributions. We want to have an environment, a culture where the employees feel like they can contribute, and we want to acknowledge that contribution. We want to say when things are changing or bettering that the idea came from someone specific. This is who suggested this. This is whose idea it was. And as we can acknowledge that, it creates this feeling. It fosters this understanding of everyone can make a difference and everyone should be contributing. And then the last is R, which is basically rewarding those who are helping, who are making a difference, who are actually achieving. One of the things that we stress is knowing the employees within the culture, what are their motivations, what drives them. But when you know that, you're able to then properly reward people, and then they feel appreciated. They feel like they're making a difference. And when you brought up millennials, we always hear that they want to have a sense of belonging, that they're making a difference. And with the STAR program, whether it be someone that's in their 20s or someone in their 60s or 70s, the goal is to say, look, we're all in this together. If we all have very specific standards that we're all responsible for, if we're all trusting one another, and if we're all acknowledging each other's involvement and contributions to making this work, let's reward one another for the successes we're experiencing. So the STAR program is a lengthy thing that we implement with our clients, and we help them do it with all their employees.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Excuse me. Now, I know you have a unique way of classifying where a business is in their, oh, and how do I want to put this? In their growth strategy. And would you share what that is and what that means?
Yeah, so what we do with our clients is we'll have them do what's called a business score. And the business score is kind of a step closer to an evaluation of a business, but it's not looking at the accounting, it's looking at the business model, what their processes and procedures are as they work with their customers. And in the business score, what we do is we have them do a questionnaire, and it's through this questionnaire that takes about 15 minutes. We learn what's going on in the company and how it functions and operates. And it's through that we can score the company, and on a scale of 1 to 100, rate the business as either being similar to like a child, a teenager, or an adult. Let me just describe each. I don't care how old the business is, how long it's been in business, or how large the company is. But if the management, the owner or the management, are very micromanaging, it's very similar to an adult or a parent being with a newborn or a 1 or a 2-year-old. If those of us who have had children, if you're around a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, you can't leave the room. You are with the child all the time. Why? Because they can instantly get into trouble. They can instantly cause problems. And so whether it be tipping over things, breaking things, they can get into mischief. And so like that in a business owners will sometimes micromanage in the sense that they will always be in the company, and the employees never feel like they can ever do anything without the owner or management's decision or input. And what that does is it stifles growth, and it takes away the ability for that company to function as it needs to. So what we want to do with our clients is help them move from that child level to a teenage level. Well, what's that like? Those of us who have had teenagers, you know that they can wake up in the morning, they can dress themselves, they can entertain themselves, they can feed themselves. You don't have to be with them 24/7. They're okay. But what you do is you put up bumper pads. You say, okay, you've got to be in the house by 10. You've got to do your homework before you watch TV, whatever the thing is. And like that with companies, you can with the employees say, okay, this you do first, this you do second, and then you give them the license to go and do these things. But what you ultimately want to have is, as a business, is a company that's running where your employees and your management are like adults. They have their own purpose, their own drive. They're excited to come to work. They make a difference with the customers. They make business decisions. Why? Because like an adult, they may be pursuing their own, this is your child, they're pursuing their own career. They're perhaps doing their own education. Maybe they're off living on their own now. So they're autonomous. They don't need your supervision daily. But if you're in that business situation where you're running a company, much like your company is that autonomous adult, that allows you to be taking vacations, going to conferences. It allows you to maybe start a new product within the company. Maybe it's launch a new business, a second business. Many entrepreneurs that I know are idea thinkers. They always have something else that they're doing. And sometimes the business that they have stifles them from starting on the next project. Well, wouldn't it be nice to have a business that's self-sustaining? One of the key things that I teach all of our clients and the way we work with our clients is to tell them that the business is a unique individual. It's a self-sustaining individual. It needs to be just that. You need to treat your company like it's an independent entity. And if you teach it where you're building something that is autonomous, then you can go off and do these other things. Just a quick analogy. I met with a business owner last year, and what she was doing is she was taking a 3-month sabbatical from her company to go to the Bahamas and write legislation for her state. The only reason why she was able to leave for 3 months and not interact with the company and focus on this project was because the company was able to function independent of her to the point that she'd be gone for 3 whole months. Well, the challenge you have is like an adult. Can you leave your child alone for 3 months as they go off to college, start their family, travel? Of course you can. But I don't know that you do that with a teenager, and you definitely wouldn't do that with a child. And the same is true for a business. So those are the 3 comparisons that we give when I work with our clients.
Great. And that reminds me of a friend I have. He takes off for 6 to 8 weeks every summer with his family. He doesn't check his email, phone, just goes and enjoys the family. And people are really happy for him for the first 2 weeks. And then after about 4 weeks, they start getting a little grumpy, wanting to know how he can take all this time off. And he has several businesses. He doesn't just have one individual business, he has several. Before we go on, I'd just like to remind our audience to like, comment, and share this show. Also, make sure you stay tuned until the end of the show because Roger has a giveaway. Not I don't want to say giveaway, but how would you describe that, Roger?
We'll just call it a giveaway. We'll give them an offer and let them take advantage of it.
So stay tuned so you don't miss out on that. Great tool for your business. So how can you're talking about child, teenage, adult. So how can I delegate more and hold people more accountable without them getting mad at me?
Well, I would take you back to the STAR program. In the STAR program, one of the things that we start with is setting standards. And one of the things that I find is very important is once you're able to help every single department and every single employee understand what key metric they're responsible for, you're delegating to them that responsibility to accomplish it. And so one of the things that we talk about, and this is back with passion, one of the things that you can do to bring it out in individuals is once they understand what they're supposed to do, you're then through that delegation process able to do two things. One is ask, what tools or resources do you need to do the job, to accomplish that task, to achieve what it is I'm asking of you? And the reason why I say it that way is I'm not asking, how can I help you do it? I'm asking, what tools or resources do you need for you to do it? And that's where the employee has the opportunity to say, well, I need this equipment, I need this training, I need this support. Well, I'm not saying I'm going to support you. I've got other things to do, but I can get another employee to work with you because you just asked for that assistance. So once you've delegated the key thing, you can then follow up by saying, by the way, what do you need in order to achieve this? What can I do to help you make sure you do this? Because it's important that it get done. That right there in the delegation process is huge because you've told the person you're still responsible. I'm asking, do you need any help? They're able to tell you what tools and resources they need. You're going to give those to them. And then again, you're walking away because they need to get it done. But then the second thing that is very important is you have to understand these employees, we give them a lot to do. And as they're seeing all these things that they can be doing, they run the risk of at the end of the day being very busy, but didn't get anything done. And so what we want to do is we want to understand that one of our important roles as owners of companies, as executives or managers, is our ability to prioritize for the employee what needs to be done first. They see all this stuff coming at them that needs to get done. It's our job to prioritize for them what is first, what is second, what is third. So as you delegate, first and foremost, make sure that they have the tools and the resources to achieve what it is you're asking of them. But secondly, help them understand where it falls in alignment with all the other things that have been asked of them. Because you might have asked them to do something yesterday that's still priority number one. But when I come to you today saying this also needs to be done, I didn't change the order. I still need the other thing done first, but you might misunderstand and believe that what I'm asking you to do now supersedes. And so you stop the first thing. I didn't ask you to stop the first thing. I'm saying I need you to do this. And I need to be clear, that gets done first, then you work on this. But I'm not going to wait till tomorrow to tell you about this. I'm going to tell you today. Here it is. Get it done. But don't stop the other thing yet. You got to finish that first. And so prioritization is key.
Yeah. And also on that, communication, letting individuals know, just because I'm sharing this task with you right now, it doesn't mean now. I'm just sharing it with you because I may not be here tomorrow or whatever the case may be.
Exactly. Yeah.
So going back to the business, trying to talk to the owners, what should I look for more? Revenue or, focus on revenue or profits, or is there something else? Where should I really focus on?
Great question. So I think a lot of people want to be drawn to the profit. Am I making money? But I have to tell you, first things first, nothing happens until you make a sell. You've got to be making money, earning money, generating revenue. So the first and foremost thing that you need to be doing, and this is back to that mapping discussion, marketing, accounting, production. The first thing in marketing is always nothing happens until you make a sale. Everything is primarily driven towards revenue production, because only once you make that sale can you at least take care of the fixed costs that you have to be in business. And only once the fixed costs are taken care of can you take care of the associated costs of doing business. So what we want to do is always focus on what's going on to make a sale. So in the mapping of the business, everything is driven first and foremost in the short term towards making that sale and generating revenue.
Okay, great. And before I ask any questions, we have a couple comments. So I just want to go through those, read those, see if there's any questions. For some reason, my contacts are not focusing on the screen up here, nor are they focusing over here very well. But Crystal, micromanaging is a direct reflection of how well you train, teach, and coach people who work for you. You grow good employees. And she also said people who run your business need to know and agree with your vision for the business. And I agree with that. What do you say, Roger?
Two things. Her last statement, yes, the vision is very important. And the thing that's determining whether or not they capture the vision is clarity. The more clear what it is you're trying to do and achieve with timelines and description, the more they're able to understand what you're trying to do and then their role in achieving it. But also regarding the micromanaging, it comes back to the STAR program, that second acronym or letter in the acronym of TEACH, trust. Yes, you need to well train them, and part of the setting of the standards is tools, training, and temperament. Tools, they've got to have the means to do the job. They've got to have the training to use the tool. Too often, I think we give the employees the tool, and then they never get fully trained on how to use the tool to its fullmost, to its utmost. And so what happens is the tool doesn't really help them excel in their job as it could. But the third thing is temperament. But those three things in setting the standards lead us to trust. And if you're training and educating your employees, you can trust them. And then that trust comes into play. And that's where you're not needing to micromanage anymore because you believe they can do it and they're demonstrating they can do it. Therefore, you let them do it.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Love that. So along that line, well, let's do all these principles that you've shared with us today, the STAR, the child, teenage, adult, do those apply to all businesses, whether they're small, large, family-owned, corporate-owned?
Yes.
Do they all apply in there?
They do. So, for example, with the STAR program, I've done this with a family-owned business, and I think it's really helped. Where in that family business, there is, I think that kind of get out of jail free card that people try to play because I'm part of the family. And you're not going to fire the son-in-law kind of a deal. But when you come in with the STAR program and you set standards, everyone is given a key metric and 3 supporting metrics that they're all responsible for. And everyone is visually able to see who's doing their job because there's a visual element. We talk about what's called dashboarding in that process. So the STAR program works in a family business, but recently I've also spoken at some SHRM meetings. I don't know if anyone's familiar with SHRM, but it's a human resource organization for human resource directors. These are directors of companies that have hundreds and thousands of employees, tens of thousands of employees. And what they're doing with the STAR program is they're trying to take and implement a very simple process and procedure throughout an entire organization. And the STAR program is very effective in that large setting because management can understand it, the employees can understand it. And so it's easily implemented within the business because honestly speaking, when you can say there's a program with structure that has an acronym, people can kind of buy into it. And so one of the things that it lends itself to is in a large organization. So to answer your question, each of these things that we're talking about here today, they work for that small business owner who's trying to build an organization that's not just a hobby, it's not just a job. They're trying to start and build a successful company, all the way up to larger organizations that are dealing with, like everyone, individuals that need to feel a sense of belonging and responsibility. That's what we do. That's what we work with. Those are our clients.
Great. That's awesome. It kind of makes me reflect back on my younger days when I used to farm with my dad. The hired men didn't like me because I was the boss's kid and they thought I got extra privileges, and maybe I did, But what they didn't see was at 10 o'clock or midnight when the ventilation system went down in the spud cellar in the middle of the winter when it's 30 degrees outside. I was the one climbing out of bed, getting dressed, go down to fix that. I was during harvest, I was the first one in the field, last one out of the field. And so if the star, I can see how this star program would have really worked well in that, because everyone there would have known my responsibilities, I would have known theirs, and etc. And there wouldn't have been that animosity or feeling of favoritism, so to speak. Am I assessing that correctly, Roger?
You are, and I'd like to add to that. In working with some family businesses, I'll share with you two things that are going on. Sometimes the family has an individual that's doing in the company a role that they're maybe not the experts, the best person at it. Maybe they're not the one that could do it its best. And so the fellow employees look at it and go, the owner is jeopardizing the success of the business because they put in this family member who really isn't the best. They don't have the education for it, the experience. We could go hire somebody better to do this job. But what can happen is if that family member is loyal to the company and committed to its success, they can quickly acquire the skills to actually do that job. And what the employees sometimes don't recognize is what they're seeing as favoritism is going to quickly be replaced by loyalty, in the sense that if it were an employee from outside the family with that greater skill set, yes, they could do their job well, but they're perhaps, if not as loyal, capable of leaving and going for a better job with another company. And now the company is in a lurch because it's lost that key role, because they've left the business. And now everybody in the company is struggling because that person is left and gone elsewhere. But if it's that family member who is committed, who is loyal, that's doing the job, they can actually, through consistency, make up for that perception. But I will tell you that as a son of a business owner, I'm sure you'll relate. You probably, if you're committed, recognize you've got to go the extra mile and do more because everyone is looking at you. So right. If it's done right, if it's not a handout, if it's not a charitable position within the company, if it's not a way that the business owner is trying to replace an allowance with a paycheck, yeah, it can actually be very good for the business to have these family. Nepotism isn't that bad when done correctly, okay? I don't think Trump is complaining about his kids right now, all right? So let's put it into context. There are good stories, there are bad stories. The question is it, on an individual basis, what does it look like? And fortunately, our STAR program with the key metric, with that standard, I think addresses this. So anyways.
Okay, cool. Hey, Roger, I appreciate you being on. Before we leave, would you please share with the audience your giveaway that you have and how they can get it? And then I'll make sure that information is also put into the comment section in case they don't get a chance to write it down, and for those that watch this as a replay.
You'd love to. So let me set it up. I'm going to set up the giveaway in just a real quick way. First of all, again, as a reminder, Roger Knecth, Universal Accounting Center. You can find us at universalaccounting.com. What we basically do is we work with business owners, presidents of companies, with really 4 key things. First and foremost is we help them understand the accountability within the company, the accounting, meaning the key metrics that need to exist within the business, what needs to be followed, what needs to be watched numerically. The second thing we focus on is revenue generating strategies, how to increase revenue and sales within the company. We have a program that's called Cut to the Chase. It's a sales program, different things that we do there to help them generate additional revenue. The third thing that we focus on is we look at ways to improve profit. So we follow strategies that are taught in the book called In the Black, another book that we have that's called Red to Black, and there's also a book that's called Profit First. These are books that we use, strategies that we implement with the client to ensure that they can actually not just generate revenue, but see it trickle down to the profit and see it on the bottom line. And a lot of what I've been sharing today comes from the book In the Black. And so that's important to know. And then the fourth thing that we focus on is very specific strategies to build value in the business. So many of these companies, whether it be a business owner or a president of a company with shareholders, one of the roles that you have is not just the revenue and the profit, but you have to also recognize that you can have a company that's making money and is profitable, but is worth less. It's not worth anything. And there are key elements that need to exist in the business for a bank, venture capitalist, maybe a person to buy the business is looking at to see what value the business has. And these 8 pillars, we come in with our clients and help them make sure that those pillars are in fact where they need to be and sturdy and strong. So my offer, my giveaway is, first of all, I spoke of a business score earlier. It's where we basically assess the business and the business as it's created or defined. So it's a 15-minute questionnaire. I'm inviting all of your listeners to go ahead and for free do this questionnaire of the company. And for that, we'll actually send them back their scorecard and an explanation of what that is and help them see whether or not their business is functioning as a child, a teenager, an adult. But the other thing that we'll also do is I'll send them a free copy of the In the Black book. It's an ebook that I'll send out to you. So a lot of people enjoy the ebook. The beauty of this is it allows you with your management to share it around and discuss it. It's about an hour and a half read, but it's easily something that you can take to a management meeting and discuss. And I'd be happy to have your clients reach out to me and ask what it is that they may want to do to customize this to their own companies. But those 2 things, the free business score and the free copy of In the Black, I'd love to offer. You just simply need to email me and put on there that this is Mark's, in the subject line, Mark's webinar. And with that subject line, ask for the business score and the ebook for free. And I will send you each, and I'll happily have you do that. And that way you'll save some money and get some great feedback and some information that you can take into the business and implement. So there you go.
Okay, that's awesome. That's an amazing gift right there that you're offering everyone, Roger, and we appreciate that so much. So just in wrapping it up, I'd like to thank our audience for attending today. If you haven't had an opportunity to like, comment, or share this, please do so now so that your friends, business associates can benefit from this information. And I'd also like to encourage you to come back next week. I have a special friend from Canada coming on. I can never pronounce his first or his last name. It's Dieter, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. Come next week and hear. But he is a marketing expert up in Canada and has some great success. So come with your marketing questions for next week. And make sure you leave some questions or comments below. And even if you're watching the replay, and Roger will get back to you and answer those.
Hold on. I failed to give you my email. I recognize it. So here's my email. It's rknecht@universalaccounting.com. So it's rknecht@universalaccounting.com. Or you can go on our website, and I'll put the offer there. It'll be at universalaccounting.com/ITB offer for In the Black. So ITB offer. Just go to either of those 2 and we'll get you taken care of.
Okay, perfect. Appreciate that so much. And again, I'll throw that in the comments as well. And until next week, to your marketing success.
And remember this, if it's about accounting, it's universal.
Not hit in broadcast before you did that.
You're good.